I might use. I don't think I'm going to use this today because I think I'm going to punch this out of light craft card stock and then decorate with some of the leaves that I picked up, and then maybe use one of these guys as sort of a sentiment or stand in for a sentiment. And I do have, we have some sentiments here. Like I might just do Happy Thanksgiving somewhere. So I could do that too, just, with a block and not too much, but we'll see. First thing I want to do is grab some craft card stock, which is to the side. Here we go. I'm curious, this will fit, so I think I can just... Oops, this is a nice pattern too. I forget which pattern. I think that's actually Catherine Pooler pattern, because I was looking at that for Craft Roulette from hey, that kind of looks like Block's perspective. Anyway, I'm just cutting this in half so that we have two pieces that can go through a die cutter, and either of them will fit on either, so that's always good. So let's break into this thing and see how it ends. What I'd like to do, I should probably do next, is pull this guy back out, and I would like to use a little ginger ink on it. And then, but I think I will, actually I think I'll ink it and then go from there. We have Pucker Up. We have, Sandcastle would be a nice option. Let me just grab my brown ink brush. Which is somewhere. Terracotta might be better though. It's a little darker. I wonder if my brown ink brush is on my desk somewhere. Ah, it is. I'm going to use my black, which I've never really used for anything, but let's try terracotta. And I mostly want to kind of get at this, stitch detail here. And really kind of blend some color down. Just to make it a little more interesting than, all craft. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And also, as you can see, this pattern paper definitely has a purpley brown to it, so I think that'll work out quite nicely. Now, this is the tallest one, so we may grab the Misty and see if we can't stamp a sentiment on it. I don't really have any sentiments that are big. I'd really like sort of a bigger one, so I think I may have one in my... I probably have one in my stash, but let us just grab one of these guys. We'll just grab Happy Thanksgiving, I think. This would also be a good option if you had if you had a really beefy sort of thanks die cut of some sort. That would be good here too. That I like. Be just sort of in the center. Probably should get my cat-related segment off for the time being anyway. I'll just put that on top of the stamp set. Yeah, that's a little bit crooked. So let's that I like. And this is already brown. Probably a black ink will work a little bit better here. do have a few other options for just bigger sediments in my stash, but since we're mostly using cat scrappiness things here, I think we will stick with that. And maybe one more round of Midnight. Because this paper seems quite a bit thirsty. Yeah, there we go. Maybe one more. There we go. I like that. Okay, so we've gotten a little ink blending on here, and now what I want to do is just grab my bone folder. I don't actually really need to do any scoring because the die did that for me, which is a pretty nice feature. So I'm just scoring these down because they are going to fold up like this at the end. And one thing about this die is there's not really a place to write on here. So that's kind of why I wanted to do a sentiment at the top. And I'm thinking, like, by the time you get down to the smallest one of these, I may use some of the pumpkins or the leaves or some of the other things that are already punched out. So it would probably be good to lay down a few leaves in the background. So let's grab a few. Can just sort of do this get sort of a sense. So all this area will be sort of free, so we can do collage-y kind of things here. I don't think we're going to need to do a lot of gluing just to tack these down. So I wanted to try a new glue, actually. This is the Gina K Connect glue that I've had for a while but haven't actually tried. And I really like their packaging because the lid has this little, like, cone at the top, so regardless of how much you cut this, it should be pretty easy. And I don't think I took the actual, like, this part off. And I have a little glue on there, so I'm actually going to just, like, wipe that so that it's not wasted. The only thing I sometimes run into with liquid glue is that, and there's a little excess there, is that sometimes it makes the paper warp, which is a little annoying, but we will hope for that to not happen this time. So I'm just going to use a little bit and just kind of tack stuff down. Like, I don't need it to be super flat. Whoa. This just sort of comes out of there, doesn't it? I will rub a little of that. Let's grab this guy and see if I can't just scrape a little off. There we go. And then I'll do that. I don't know, this kind of putting things together is always pretty relaxing for me, just because it's sort of like, well, you're just doing a little this and a little that. I'm just putting a little dollop on here. Because really I want this to stick, but I don't need it to be like, you know, super flat. I don't know, I like how that's looking generally. There's little pieces some pieces are up, others are down. We'll see if we can't wipe off. Yeah, we can just dab off some of that excess glue. It's sort of a glue-heavy project anyway. What you can do is take something like this and something heavy like your pencil sharpener and just sort of leave it for a minute to sort of make sure that everything is down. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to start using my bone folder to fold these corners back. And actually this was really easy on the pattern paper. I was expecting it to be a little more difficult. You don't really necessarily need the folds as much as I thought you would. We do kind of want to pay attention to what's up and down. This particular paper has this other design on the back, so in theory you could do it in gingham too, but we shall see. Those don't feel like they're going anywhere. So we can move on to sort of step 2, which is you want to put glue just along this edge and glue in this tab. So I am going to do that. I kind of hold it for a minute until it attaches, and then what you can actually do is push it down into the corner and just sort of hold it with your fingers. The other option here is to use double-sided tape, which is probably less fussy, but I think, I'm not sure that it like has the long-term hold that the liquid glue does. I'm just using a little that's like left over here because I think I kind of went ham with the glue on this. Then what we can do is sort of fold this down and fold this down and press and hold essentially. And then put it back, and you can kind of get a sense of, like, the neat part about this is it will stand up, and then you kind of have a sense of these individuals. And I think I'm going to just put maybe 1 or 2 per, like the second and third layer, I think I'll do that, and the last layer I'll probably look for a die cut that has more of a sentiment on it. So I will just grab, I don't know, I kind of like this guy. I think I've learned my lesson with this glue applicator that less is more. This one you have to be a little more delicate on just because it's not really attached to anything, where the other layers we could just sort of push against the back. Yeah, so I'm pretty good here. And you really only need to glue the part that you're going to glue down, right? You want to be relatively careful because you don't want to do what I almost did there and, like, you know, glue it to the, you don't want to push down to the point that any wet glue sticks, or this won't really work too well as a pop-up. Because of it, I mean, we're going to basically need to leave this in its sort of popped up position for a while until all the liquid glue dries, but then we should be able to put this flat for putting in an envelope and travel and mailing and all that kind of stuff. So the other thing we could have done is if we really wanted to be careful here, what you can do is, rather than wait to assemble this and just attach any embellishments you want before you do this. So we can let this dry a little and I can show you what that option would look like. So this is the second piece. So I'm going to use a little, again, I'm going to just go in, wipe some of this onto another die cut because I got a little out of control. But here you can just push down, you know, because it's, I think I'll do this with 2. I kind of like that look. And then this one is the front. So let's see what we might want to put here, because we kind of are good with leaves. I do like the Don't Pick Me turkeys. I think I'll do that because it's sort of a sentiment, and Yeah, I kind of like that. I guess we could just leave. I might just do the one turkey. And I'm curious. Take a look at the Nana turkeys for a second. You know, they all basically have legs. So the way this die is constructed, um, we're basically only going to glue the legs. So using a let me just wipe a little of this off, and then do this part again, and do like that. Wow, that glue is sticky stuff. But if you sort of push and twist when you're moving, whatever you're using to push it down, you should be good. Anyway, I just wanted to get some excess glue off. I am going to make sure this guy is well attached. I want him kind of to the side, because I think that would look better. We're just pushing to help the adhering of this. This is one of the ones I colored, I don't know, a couple days ago. So I am going to let these guys sit for a minute and just sort of chill out, because I think it'll be easier to work with. But I'm just really kind of intrigued by this particular stamp set, because there's like coffee rings and splatters and stuff. I think this would be good to do sort of like a brown on brown kind of card as well. So I might do that tomorrow. Might actually, this one extra piece sort of stuck to me, so I will maybe just adhere this guy there too. We put the lid on, and I guess we'll see if the lid works. The glue is pretty liquid, like it's a lot liquid. It's more like it's sort of the same liquidiness as like a mono. I've been using the mono aqua a lot lately, but there's also I forget what it's called, but like the original mono is basically white, and these feel like they're not going to move around, so I think we are safe. This is still a little sticky, but as you can see, it's gone from white to clear, so we're probably, yeah, these don't seem like they're going to move around either. They're still sticky, so basically we're going to want to like allow this to fully dry before we try and do anything much with it, but we can grab a little more glue here. One thing about this applicator is that the glue comes out pretty fast, just from a, like, if you bought this and were curious standpoint. And then I'm going to just do that, and just want to push these together. You can use a bone folder or a pokey tool or whatever, even something like this you might have around to sort of help make sure that this is fully adhered. I don't this particular die makes it really easy just because the way the tabs are configured, you know, it's not like you're gonna get stuck too much. I think the actual demo of how to properly do this, which of course I didn't do because, you know, why would I read the instructions or follow them? Has you attach one side of all three of these bridge pieces and then really get it anchored and then do the second side. But, you know, I think it's not too crazy to do, just sort of on the fly. So now we are just getting that final piece in and making sure this is down, and you can kind of squish a little bit, and I'm probably going to do sort of a push and hold here because it's harder to get the second piece on, oddly. It always seems like it's easier to get the first side done. Then we will it gets kind of problematic because you get glue on your fingers and then it just gets very sticky. So this is very sticky, but I think all the way together, I am going to, let me just cap my glue, get my hands a little less gluey, and you can see what this looks like. It gives you this really cool like 3D effect, and because of the way these are set up, the whole thing sort of folds down for shipping once the glue's not wet anymore. You can kind of see how this goes together on the bottom too. And it's a little wonky because it's still wet, but yeah, there we go. That was a pretty straightforward. The die makes it easier. I may do another bridge card, just do it with a paper cutter to show you sort of like, you know, how it's different to do it with a paper cutter. I think the major difference is you have to actually measure things and do a little math up front, but other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward, and you could do it with either option. But I will probably check that out tomorrow.